Welcome to the Pixel Media and Yoda webinar, 2019 Holiday Preparation Salesforce Commerce Cloud Edition. My name is Beth Moriarty, the VP of Product Strategy for Yoda. I am very familiar with Salesforce Commerce Cloud as I used to run product at Demandware. I'm joined today by one of our partners, Mike Skubish, VP of Managed Services for Pixel Media. Sorry, Mike, if I didn't do your name justice, but thank you for joining us.
No, Beth, you got it perfect. Mike Skubish, I'm with Pixel Media and responsible for the managed services practice here. And we're responsible in managed services for handling clients that are up and running and transacting on Commerce Cloud and help manage, grow, and expand their presence on the internet.
Great. So we know summer is upon us and we're all thinking about going to the beach, but the snow and the holidays will be here before you know it. Retailers that plan well in advance will have the best revenue success during the peak holiday. In today's webinar, first we will take a quick look back on the 2018 holiday to see both successes and some failures. Next, we will review the 5 Ps for a successful 2019 holiday. Then we will share some retailer holiday success stories. And finally, for those of you attending Salesforce Connections next week, we will give you some best practices on how to maximize your attendance at the conference. Let's take a quick review of the Cyber 5 holiday period, which occurs from Thanksgiving Day through Cyber Monday, in case you're not familiar with that term. The 2018 holiday data I will be presenting comes from Yoda's benchmark analytics in our e-commerce acceleration platform. This database is based on over 1,500 e-commerce sites consisting of major brands across all main e-commerce platforms, with a large percentage on Salesforce Commerce Cloud. Over the Cyber 5, the Yoda platform handled over 400 million page views per day, helped clients avoid over 72 million third-party violations per day, and influenced over $2 billion in online revenue. Here's a chart that measures the percentage of Cyber 5 traffic growth over non-holiday traffic, starting with the traffic on October 1st. The key takeaways: traffic continues to grow year over year, but more importantly, you can see that the growth is occurring much earlier in the year. October had a massive increase in traffic, and the total holiday period saw a whopping 47% growth in traffic over 2017. The early traffic is due to retailers racing each other to get the first promotions to the market. We will dive more into this topic on the section on promotions.
Yeah, Beth, this is Mike, and from Pixel's perspective, we also monitor our client sites using additional tools, and I would echo your data here. We're seeing both an absolute growth year over year and the kind of the starting lines moving forward to capture and extend that holiday shopping season. And the other consideration is the absolute traffic difference between normal seasonal shopping and holiday season shopping is pretty dramatic.
Yeah, great perspective as well. Couldn't agree more. So another key takeaway is that mobile ruled and led the traffic every single day, representing 54% of page views. And in keeping with increased traffic, mobile revenue was up 55% year over year. And you can see certain days like Thanksgiving and Black Friday, you know, people are not at their desk and using their desktop. So you can really see the massive amounts of mobile on those days specifically as well.
Yeah, that's consistent with us as well, Beth. In the Commerce Cloud ecosystem, their latest platform is built around a mobile-first mindset, but for a large percentage of their install base, we spend a bit of our optimization practices time on advancing mobile traffic optimization because such an increasingly large percentage of customers are shopping that way.
That's great. And we should do that. We should all focus on mobile, making it as fast and functional as possible. Unfortunately, not all retailers had a smooth journey over the Cyber 5. Typically, we see 2 or 3 retailers experience outages or website performance delays during the peak traffic of the Cyber 5. However, in 2018, we saw over 20 retailers experience problems, including some of the biggest brands. These performance problems cost brands over $100 million during this very critical time period for them. In addition, these retailers experienced significant damage to their brand from retailers who took to social media to voice frustration over their inability to shop due to performance issues. The Cyber 5 is the main opportunity for direct-to-consumer brands to really compete with Amazon, and to win, they must really execute the holiday flawlessly. Because of performance glitches, these retailers were not able to do that. But what were the reasons for the Cyber 5 performance issues in 2018? In many instances, it was a failure of a third-party technology to load or function correctly. For example, on Black Friday, IBM Core Metrics Analytics were down, and they had no estimated resolution time. For retail sites with Core Metrics, traffic dropped by 50% instantly, with shoppers assuming the site had crashed. Meanwhile, shoppers that remained on the site likely lost their carts, and their page load times jumped from the 3 to 5 seconds to well over 12 seconds. And these third-party and network failures can happen at any time, whether it's Black Friday or a Sunday afternoon in June. The Google outage on June 2nd was significant for many retail brands that host their sites on Google Cloud. During the 4-hour outage, some brands could not transact online or in the store. Google also had issues with Snapchat, Gmail, and YouTube. When these types of outages happen during the holidays, it can have major impact on shopper experience. For example, during the 2017 Cyber 5, the Gap experienced 30-second page load times for hours due to a single third party, also Snapchat. So that wraps up our lessons learned from 2018. And I'm going to pass it over to Mike to start discussing the 2019 planning.
Great, thank you, Beth. So while there are certain things that we can't control, there's a lot of things that we can do to mitigate our responses to those outages and unforeseen things. There's also a lot of things that we can do to be more proactive, and that's what we call the 5 Ps here. We need to have good planning, think about our promotional strategy, take advantage of the personalization capabilities in the platform. Performance is a foundational element. Everything is about speed and instant gratification for buyers these days, and make sure that you've got a provider that's going to get you over the finish line here. Next slide. So when we look at the planning, you can kind of look at it in a couple different ways, and we chose to look at it in these 5 silos. One thing, recognizing that the number of facets that need to be addressed as part of a holiday preparation makes us think about who's going to be involved in identifying those team members early and getting everyone on the same page in terms of what the timetables look like and the areas of responsibility need to be is the first and most important step to get the planning off the ground. Who's involved, and they all have a common view of what the objectives are. The next thing probably you should be thinking about is what can we learn from last year, and that's everything from how your site performed, partner implications on your site impacted you, and then what current things are changing in the market that are different from 2018, and make sure we're taking those into account on our planning exercises. Thirdly, what's your strategy for merchandising? So as the holiday season approaches, your product lines may change. You may have different search terms you need to be thinking about, or changing your search dictionaries. You may need to look at how you're setting up your site with new landing pages or categories. So all of that needs to be done well in advance. You don't want to be doing that at the 11th hour. Next, what are you doing for campaigns and promotions that's specific to the holiday season? And we'll dive a little bit more into the promotional information later on. But again, having these things thought well out in advance, make sure that they're supportive of one another without conflicting is important. And last, but certainly not least, is can your site handle the demand that's going to be placed upon it during the holiday shopping season? As Beth went through earlier, the traffic growth year over year is growing significantly, but the change in traffic patterns from non-holiday season to holiday season is pretty dramatic. 3 to 5 times higher volumes of traffic are not unheard of. And if your site is slow, it's going to be slow for all of the great things that you're doing. And just because it's okay today doesn't mean it's going to be okay when the traffic levels go up by 500%. So again, we want to make sure we're thinking about performance under load during the holiday shopping season as a key element of our exercise.
That's great, Mike. And I know when we're talking with our customers, a lot of times we're saying that team coordination also needs to include those external to your company. Maybe your plan was originally just with your internal team that's working on your site, but really taking in consideration all the different key partners that you're working with and how they can participate and help you get ready for the best holiday. And then also on the site performance is making sure you're working with your partners to do the appropriate load testing and at the right time and the right volumes to make sure anything is found is also really critical. So totally agree.
This slide, we'll talk a little bit about, what things you should be thinking about in terms of major deliverables and milestones in your holiday planning timeline. For many folks, we think of the holiday deadline being just when the code freeze happens, but there's a lot more to it to be successful. We have some clients that we're already working on initiatives that are designed to be supportive of their holiday shopping season. So, the idea here of having a good plan started early, clearly marked milestones that cover everything from what the major development activities might be, what your strategy will be for merchandising, promotions, what impact might you have in terms of SEO or product schema for search performance. All of those things should be really thought out well in advance so we can get the maximum impact when it does come time for the holiday season to really get into full swing. And like I said, your brand may have some different milestones on the curve here, but again, the idea here is that there's much more to this than just getting a code freeze or a couple promotions locked in before Black Friday.
Absolutely. On to one of our other P's here, which is directly, as Mike was just saying, about getting those promotions ready and getting them right is really important. Now, unlike in the past when promotions were limited to Black Friday and Cyber Monday, we're now seeing promotions begin in October and they last for the entire month of December. And many times it's the exact same promotion over and over and over. These early and often promotions are certainly helpful and they do contribute for sure to the early traffic growth. However, it's resulted in shoppers waiting to see if there are better deals around the corner or just getting numb to sort of the same promotion. So, just looking back on last year is just making sure we sort of take some of those lessons learned. And I know, I think, Mike, you might have something to say about that, just on sort of organizing your promotions and how to make sure those are pulled together.
Yeah, very much, Beth. One of the things that we see from time to time is that clients can have multiple promotions running concurrently. It may be a product level promotion, or maybe there's a free shipping on an offer on a certain dollar amount or higher, or they may be a product category that can have a range of discounts. And so if you're not careful about how you structure your promotions and how you kind of bring them into effect, you can create more confusion with your clients and actually add friction to the process. So a client may look at a promotion and say, hey, free shipping, but then they go and pick another promotion that says that they get 50% off this product, but that may exclude the free shipping option. So making sure you're thinking through how those promotions are going to interact as people are adding product to the cart or proceeding through the checkout process is very important, because we can see clear data that shows that clients, buyers can be deterred by promotions that are inconsistent or overly confusing.
Absolutely.
And on the point of promotions, one of the things that does happen is there is a bit of noise and some clutter. As Beth said, these promotions now are starting earlier and lasting longer, and that can result sometimes in actually people delaying their buy, waiting for a better deal. And sort of this carpet bombing approach of putting promotions out to everybody has its place, but more and more we see the increasing value in targeting your communications promotions through personalization technologies. And the Commerce Cloud platform has a number of different capabilities built into it that you can leverage. And the idea here is that you're trying to personalize the shopping experience, start to understand what the client's needs and desires and behaviors look like, so you can more effectively target them. This also fosters an increase in loyalty and engagement with the client. And while these technologies, or these concepts rather, are not necessarily new, the tools that leverage some of the artificial intelligence and machine learning make these far more effective than they've been just a few years ago. And by leveraging the platform services like Einstein, it allows you to do everything from targeted emails based on buying behaviors to retargeting for things like abandoned carts or abandoned browse, or reminding people when items are back in stock that they may have looked at previously. And all these things allow you to kind of build that more personal relationship with your client, which as a brand is one of the very, very most important things that you need to be fostering to engage with these clients over the long term.
I totally agree. I mean, the more engagement you can have, of course, like you're saying, the more loyalty that they have to the brand. And with that being said, why is performance really so critical to holiday success? But, it's been documented from Amazon, Walmart, and many other retail experts that say you only have 3 seconds to load a page, and then they bounce to another site or to another brand or another location to maybe even buy your product. And every second after that 3-second mark costs you 7% in conversion. So it's really important to stay focused on that. And, as we layer in all these things from the personalization and the promotions, and, as I was talking about earlier, traffic is going to grow significantly. We already know it will. It's already going to start, and so it's definitely coming. And on this chart, you can see the orange represents real traffic on a standard e-commerce site leading up to the Cyber 5. And the blue represents also real traffic on a performance optimized site. And while both stay in line with each other, the optimized site saw a 30% performance improvement and a more consistent experience. And during the Cyber 5, the standard e-commerce sites were wildly erratic, while the optimized sites stayed very consistent regardless of traffic volume. And we've heard this many times over, and I sometimes even hear it in the news when we hear retailers say in a positive way, we had so much traffic our site crashed, as if it's a sign of success. Inconsistent and slow page load times due to traffic increases are not a badge of honor, it's your lost GMV. This is your direct money going out the window that you could have monopolized on.
You're spot on, Beth, with the variations can be disastrous for your revenue. And it's a bit cliche, but the old saying, you only have one shot at a first impression. So if somebody hits your site, that may be the anomaly that they happen to get the unlucky session that had that delay, but that's what they're going to be viewing your brand and your site as a result of that. So the ability to have a very predictable and consistent experience for your users is extremely important, especially in this highly competitive shopping season.
Right, and with a 5 to 8 page shopper journey, almost all of your shoppers, at least 50% of them, are probably going to hit some of those inconsistent pages, right? So if you really think about it from that perspective. So as part of your holiday performance plan, you need to ensure that you have a process or a service to detect negative impacts from changes or anomalies. Anomalies can be on third parties, as we've discussed with core metrics and Snapchat examples, or they can be related to image size and placement, traffic errors and codes, or bot and other security threats. All anomalies should be identified to ensure that the appropriate course of action is taken to minimize the shopper interruptions and to make sure it doesn't impact your GMV.
Yeah, and I would add on to that, Beth, that the identification of the problems is certainly priority one, but there's a good time during this planning process leading up to the holiday season to make sure that you've got all of your emergency contact information for your third-party vendors and your emergency support staff and providers up to date, so you can get a hold of people quickly. Make sure that your escalation and remediation procedures and processes are fresh and consistent to reflect what your current situation looks like. It's the last time you want to check your battery backup on your computers and the power goes out, right? You want to make sure that these procedures and protocols are all fresh and current before disaster strikes.
Absolutely. Of course, you could also use some vendors that would help you with that.
Perfect.
So I guess that brings me over to your stuff, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah, so the idea of having a good provider it should be pretty straightforward, particularly on the Commerce Cloud platform. It's a very powerful system. It can be complicated at times to integrate a lot of third-party technologies and to troubleshoot it. Pixel is 100% focused on the Commerce Cloud ecosystem, and in the context of this discussion, we would not only work with our clients to identify what the key deliverables, changes, improvements that they should be considering for their site in the run-up to the holiday season, but we also provide the other services that augment that, which is site monitoring, on-call emergency response, and we go through a process with clients to make sure that as the holiday window approaches, that everybody's comfortable, that the site is functioning as planned, it's going to be able to stand the traffic demands that the shopping season is going to place upon it, and in the unlikely event that something bad happens, that they know how to get a hold of someone that can help in those difficult windows. We've been doing this, we've been in the business now for 25 years, providing support and design services for websites and e-commerce sites, and over the last 5 years have been exclusively focused on the Salesforce Commerce Cloud platform. So, whether it's Pixel or someone else, just make sure that you have a good partner lined up that's going to be able to get you through the craziness of preparing for holiday and supporting you should something bad happen during that window.
Absolutely, and I'm sure there's a network of different providers that you need, and certainly I've discussed third-party features several times from different technology partners, but as a quick recap, they are very important to improve shopper experience and online GMV for those sort of best-in-breed capabilities, but they also can slow down your page load time, or they can cause a major disruption or even crash your site. So I have a few good questions to ask for you to sort of ask yourself and your team when you're doing your holiday performance planning. So do you know your provider inventory, so your third-party provider inventory? Are you certain of what technology is on your site, what's active, what's not? Do you know when a provider fails and sort of what's going to be your course of action? So Mike was talking about you need to know who you're contacting. You also need the ability to very quickly fix your site and get it back functioning. And then do you know the provider negative impact on your GMV and shopper experience? So it's really important to be able to assess these different details, really going through all of your different providers to make sure your plan is pulled in place.
Great, and I think on our follow-up on performance discussion, there's three elements that we see that are important, right? First is, whether it's Pixel or in-house engineering or another partner that you're using to do site development, follow good best practices. And that's everything from making sure that you're using the right asset types, image sizes, dynamic image services, things along those lines, well-written JavaScript, all of the things that are in the control of the development team to make sure that they're doing things that are going to be engineering for performance. That's great. Second piece of this is using a platform accelerator like Yoda yields great benefit over and above that, even platforms that are designed with the best engineering practices. There's capabilities that the e-commerce acceleration platform brings that make a good design be even better. And then the third piece is that while the engineering gets you part of the way there, and Yoda can do a lot to optimize a site using its capabilities, when we pull the two together and have the design teams who understand the site and have done the analysis work with Yoda, we've been able to take that sort of 1 + 1 and make it equal 3 by tuning Yoda to provide even more capabilities in terms of performance improvements than either of the first two boxes alone could deliver.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's really important to point out having a partner on both sides that are just willing to work together and do what's best for the site, the holiday, and the brand is really important.
Absolutely. And just as a kind of real-time example, Yoda and Pixel share a mutual customer, Samsonite, and they're a complicated storefront. They've got, I think, 8 different stores running on their Commerce Cloud realm with definitely different target audiences. And it's an environment that's been evolved over a number of years. So it's a very complex environment. And we've been working together on Samsonite for a while now. But recently, as part of our 2019 preparation for holiday, we've been focusing on improving certain areas of the site, including cart and checkout. And working together, we've been able to go through the normal engineering best practices and make sure that everything's designed for optimal performance. Yoda has been deployed on the site for a number of months now. We've seen great benefit from the two activities. But recently, we were able to collaborate and identify a number of areas that were optimized for further tuning through Yoda. For example, we were able to do some CSS and JSS rewrites in real time through the platform. We were able to update some of the imagery to use next-gen formats and use that through the Yoda CDN service. And we've been able to do other things that are unique to Samsonite that could be optimized through Yoda based on the intimacy that we have as a systems integrator on the platform. And the end result of that is just recently we rolled out all these changes to the cart, and we saw about a 50% overall improvement in cart performance. So it was a big win by working together to leverage all the tools in the bag on a unique focus on a particular site. So there's definitely opportunity there to wring out that extra percentage points of performance. And you could argue certainly that as you're entering in the purchase phase, so it's in your product in the cart, and you're looking to move to checkout, having a slow experience there is not helpful. We want to make sure that we can remove that friction through the completion of purchase. And a lot of the performance tuning that people do out there are focused more on the category pages or home pages or PDP, and less tuning focused on cart and checkout. And that's an area of opportunity we see. And again, through our partnership with a mutual customer, we've been able to really demonstrate the strong capabilities of the effort.
Absolutely, and I think it's always great to have a brand that's a great partner and willing to try and investigate new things, and we can apply it to all of our other customers as well, so that we make the most out of it. And Samsonite recently acquired eBags. So prior to Yoda, eBags had several challenges with their site speed. The site was slow. They were using responsive design. They wanted to add new technology, but they were sort of forced to hold back due to performance concerns. And they had a rush timeline. They needed to get everything fixed before the holiday season. This is why we keep hammering to get things done early and on time. So they did a free 50-50 split trial with Yoda, and their results were really outstanding. They had a 30% faster site and a 10% conversion lift on the optimized traffic. They then rolled out Yoda 100% during the holiday and got an even bigger return. And as Mike mentioned, this is not just a one and done situation. We are constantly working to get additional performance gains for all of our customers. Additionally, we work closely with our partners to ensure success for all of our mutual brands. Pixel and Yoda would love to help your brand get to the same success that we've seen with Samsonite and knee bags. For sure. I'm sure you agree with that, Mike.
Absolutely.
So I think that leads us to the next piece.
Yeah, so hopefully we've been able to provide some insight on things to think about as you get ready for this holiday season. We would like to encourage you to take advantage of the checklist and the outline that we provided today. Start thinking about some of the promotion strategy and merchandising that you're going to be doing during the holiday season. Revisit your use of some of the personalization tools and technologies available to you to try and build maximum deep connections with your buyers and potential buyers. And absolutely don't forget about making sure that you're getting your site performant, but I think it's equally important to realize that you want that performance to be delivered consistently from user to user, from session to session, page to page, and really consider the use of a awesome acceleration platform like Yoda. If you need a partner to help with the implementation of any of these services, Pixel's here to serve you. We're going to be at Connections next week, both of us. So, stop by and say hi.
Absolutely. And Mike, we're going to send out to everyone that plan in a PDF form so you can take it with you and really try to maximize either sessions and different conversations throughout the week. And like you said, stop by and talk to both of us at the booth, and we can even help point in the right direction on different suggestions to make the most of the event.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that wraps it up. I don't know if there's any questions. So I'm being handed some questions. Let's see. All right. Hold on one second. All right. I guess this one's probably for both of us, but I'll take a shot at it first, Mike, and then I'll let you answer. I don't currently have site performance as part of our plan. When should I add this into the mix? So we sort of talked about this many times, is that the traffic is coming earlier and earlier, and you're also rushing to try to get a bunch of different technologies and capabilities put in place on the site. My suggestion would be to take the upfront time, whether, it's a performance from the standpoint of your third parties, of your images, of your design, and really focus on that early. So then as you're adding new technologies, that's already being taken care of, and you don't have to rush near the end and concern that, oh, I just added a whole bunch of things to my site that are now causing additional problems I hadn't even realized I was going to have. So putting that in place early is really important.
Yeah,
Mike, your thoughts any from a design side? And
yeah, I would agree. You should be thinking about performance really always, frankly. In things that affect performance can be relatively simple to fix in certain cases, and in other cases, very complicated to fix. And performance can change dramatically from day to day, depending on how you're managing your content assets. We've had clients that inadvertently loaded incorrectly sized imagery, which caused a detrimental impact on page size and weight. We've also seen clients using services that are built into the platform incorrectly. They have a dynamic image service, for example, that aren't taken advantage of. Particularly if you're looking at mobile performance, this is an area where a lot of the remediations can be complicated. Things like lazy loading of imagery, so things that aren't on the screen, load them later, is essentially the idea behind lazy loading. That's a complicated feature to fix or a feature to deliver in code. I will say, we've had great success using Yoda as a optimization acceleration engine to solve that problem. But don't assume that the performance problems are quick and easy to fix. Some of them can be more difficult. And the sooner you look at it and get a baseline understanding of where your site performance challenges are, the better. Particularly, I would suggest you pay strong attention to the performance of your site in the mobile context, because that tends to be an area that has not been on the front burner as it should have been probably for most folks.
That's right. That's a great reminder, because I'm not sure if we talked about mobile that much on our plan. And I think, like, when you look at Samsonite, what was so great is that, we had the initial performance already working, and that gave us opportunities to then do those fine tweaks that really make a big difference in the long run of the performance of the site. So we have another, oh, sorry.
No, I just agree with you, Beth.
Okay. I have another question. It's, maybe from your perspective, Mike, how does performance affect your acquisition channels? So, social, SEO, email, any of those channels. I'm just curious from your perspective.
Yeah, I would say, sort of in a general sense, if you look at performance, and there's really two pieces to it, right? So there's that first impression factor. So, many times you're using these social channels in a means to attract new users to the site, and particularly during the holiday season when you have a lot more traffic volume in general, that first impression factor can be pretty significant impact. I know personally, and I've been blessed with 4 daughters, and I watch their shopping habits, and if there's any delay, they're bouncing to another site, right? So there's a consideration there where that first impression aspect of it is very important. You're also bringing in more third-party integrations in many cases with things like marketplace feeds and whatnot. So these things can have a cascading effect where you may be increasing dependency on third-party providers, and you're also going to see more erratic traffic spikes as you start to bring these various channels together.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's a huge investment for brands, retailers, to make in their acquisition channels. And so you want to maximize them and make the most out of them. So ensuring wherever they land is a nice, smooth, and fast experience is a great way to maximize your investments in those areas.
Yeah, there's one other consideration too. One of the things that oftentimes, and you should be doing, is as you're investing in these new acquisition channels, to make sure that you have the analytics, and whether you're using Google Tag Manager, for example, but you want to make sure you have the analytics in there to track the effectiveness of these programs and be able to do attribution by channel. That if you're not careful, that can introduce additional performance detriments to the site. So that has to be carefully planned and engineered as well to make sure that, as you're adding in this, new tracking capability, that you're not negatively impacting the user's experiences. Right.
Great point. And those landing pages, need to be optimized too, right? We don't want to forget those. So I think we have one more question here. Maybe it's more for me. It feels weird to ask it, but how do we know what third-party tags are on the site? Yoda has a solution that does an inventorying of everything on your site. Also, not only do we discover what's going on the site, but we understand the impact that it's having in all different areas. So whether it's performance or by page type or on which browsers and which devices, and how to build the right optimizations within our platform in order to make that solve all those different issues and how to see those on an ongoing basis. In the short term, we have a tool right on our website called Rapid Insight that you're allowed to use for free, and put it on your site, and it's going to give you all of the baseline information that I just talked through, an inventory of your third parties, how your site's currently performing, which third parties are causing a lot of errors and violations, any JavaScript errors that are happening on the site. So that's free. It's called Rapid Insight, and I would encourage you to use it to give you that baseline. It's probably going to be a great idea for starting your project plan, is to understand where you're at and where you need to get to. So I think that's it. We don't have any more questions, Mike. Any parting comments?
No, well, come and see us in Connections next week in Chicago. We'd love to help you get ready for your holiday season.
Absolutely. Ditto on that. Sounds great. And thank you for your time, Mike, and thank you everyone for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you, Beth.
Bye.